Sup, people? Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's incredibly well. Good afternoon for those of you tuning in from the UK. Good evening from those of you tuning in from somewhere else. Good morning for those of you tuning in from the States. I hope everybody is very, very well. So, what a bridge to die upon, eh? Or hill, I should say. What a hill. It's very interesting. Yo, shout out 4DV. How you doing? So we're back on this Professor Arday topic, which we touched on yesterday. Why have I picked up and very short term decided to do another live stream on the same topic today? Well, this morning I crashed a podcast that I like and respect very much, the Day After podcast. Shout out to Brent and the Man, who are talking about this topic, and I felt like I needed to chime in. So shout out any of you who were there this morning and heard me call in just to relay some of my insights regarding the topic. And one of the things it's done, other than reaffirm my position and actually made me very glad that I've taken this stance, which I'm going to hold on to. I'm going to be very steadfast in this stance and in my defense of Dr. Arday. Is it made me, first of all, obviously very grateful for the fact that I am not a consumer of traditional media and news. Hence, I'm not really that affected by their propaganda. I'm not affected by their propaganda about nations. I'm not affected by their propaganda about rulers and particular pariahs, despots, alleged despots and dictators. None of that actually affects me. So they can come with their nonsense all they want about, the worst leaders and the worst dictators in the world. But I'm educated enough to know that the worst leaders in the world are the ones actually invading Iran at the moment. Okay, and not the ones sitting in North Korea or the Kremlin, or insert South American state. So for me, I find it relatively easy to navigate what is the minefield of Western media and propaganda. And as such, I find it easy to pick out when someone is being demonized, when someone is being railroaded, when someone's being witch hunted, when someone's being scapegoated. I can always spot it, and I spotted it straight away. Now, does this mean that Professor Arday is completely and entirely faultless in this scandal? No, it doesn't. But on the weight of the evidence, many of the people who are making the most scathing accusations about this individual haven't substantiated any of their claims against him. It's just he's DEI, he's bad because we said so. Oh, look at him. Oh, he's such a liar. And then you go, okay, great. What did he lie about? Oh, well, he said he ran marathons. Okay, have you disproven the fact that he ran marathons? Oh no, but it just sounds like it's impossible to do. Oh, he said, oh, he wrote a book. Oh, and it's like you hear all these people, and it's like, first of all, the nature of your vitriol doesn't even match the crime. So the nature, the nature and the level of your vitriol, this is akin to the entire nation going completely crazy about someone with a fluffed up CV. Do you understand that? It's like he didn't even hold a position where there was any negative bearing or impact on the general public. So this is akin to someone getting their CV and putting an extra an extra reference on there for a job, or maybe extending a role that they were at for a month to 6 months, which I'm not going to say everyone does, but I'm going to lean on the idea that most people have done a little bit of gap filling on their CV. This is very much akin to that level of a crime being committed. And if you look at the disproportionate weight of negative media coverage, the vitriol that's being fired his way, and the I would say the nothing short of erotic stimulation being exhibited by much of the Anglo-Saxon public. They are literally jizzing themselves in their pants talking about this fella. Oh my god, oh, he's so stupid, oh, we're so much smarter than the blackies, oh. That's what they sound like. They're really just getting off to this, which is what they do, especially, you know, if you feel, you know, by nature inferior, when you see someone who you view as your physical and mental superior being brought down to a level that is beneath you, you're going to feel really great about yourself. So a lot of that is what is playing out. And I have to say to you that I am really glad I've taken this position, because I obviously opened up my YouTube studio this morning to a litany of comments from far right or bots. We don't know which. Okay. God knows Peter Thiel's funding the far right now. So you don't know if you're talking to humans or if you're talking to an internet that's entirely controlled by bots. You know, we don't know. We just simply don't know. And I had so many different comments. And one of the comments I had was, oh, don't die on this hill, brother. And, you know, as much as the comment didn't really offend me, but my response, my instant response was, I've stood and fought on lonelier hills than this one. And that is the fact of the matter. You see, before I dive into the videos we're going to look at today, I'm just going to give a little opinion. Okay, I was going to say lecture, but I'm in no position to lecture anybody. So I'm going to give a little opinion about integrity. There are many people out there who assume that the road to integrity, the road to being someone who is honorable, the road to bravery is parroting the general public, is parroting the crowd. You know, there's a biblical parable, kind of like analogy of this, about the wide road. You know, wide is the road that leads to destruction, but narrow is the path that leads to eternal life. You could almost change that parable and say, you know, wide is the road that leads to groupthink, and narrow is the road that leads to truth. Wide is the road that leads to deception. Narrow is the road that leads to truth. People don't ever do the difficult thing. And that is to say, there's two sides to this argument. I'm going to examine for its merits the side that is making this argument, examine for its merits the side that is making this argument, and then based on my knowledge of the two parties, based on my knowledge of history and historical literacy, based on my knowledge of patterns within certain groups, I'm going to make a decision about what I think is happening here. Now, to me, and this is once again my personal opinion, if you're Black and you're not at least a little bit suspicious about what's going on, I'm going to very much question your critical thinking skills. I'm going to repeat that. To me, as a Black person in the UK, if you're Black and you're seeing what's going on and you're not even in a little bit suspicious about what's taken place, a little bit suspicious about the level of critique that's being fired his way, a little bit suspicious about the amount of interest that it's getting from different media outlets and the general public. If it all just sounds really normal to you, and I mean, like, a really acceptable to you, I'm going to question your critical thinking skills. I'm going to say you probably deserve what you. In fact, just carry on doing what you're doing. You're not someone who I'd probably try and target anyway. I'd see you as someone who's sitting on the lower ebbs of cognitive ability, and as such, I probably don't even want you on my channel. So cool. But if you've, and I'm not saying you have to be on my side, but for anyone with critical thinking skills, alarm bells should ring. Questions should instantly be firing in your mind. Why is this happening? Why is there so much interest? Why have I never heard? Is he the first professor to perhaps have submitted a PhD thesis and being granted the PhD and his thesis wasn't amazing? Is this the first time that's happened, or is this more like a pattern? Okay. If you're thinking, I've never heard of a professor's job being given so much media attention before, why does everyone care about the role of a professor? And they care in this case, and he happens to be Black. Once again, these are things that should be ringing in your head. These are alarms that should be going off where you're saying, why is this happening? Who's responsible? Now, I did touch on, without going into any detail, but I did touch on the fact that this entire brigade against Professor Arday was started by a eugenicist. an openly admitted white racist who doesn't believe that black people have the biological capabilities to even access the role of professor. That's literally what he believes. This same man now is sitting in the studios of broadsheet newspaper outlets, of top media, mainstream outlets, like a legitimate person to interview. He's not even British, he's American. But his racism drove him so far that he has chased Professor Arday ever since Professor Arday actually got that position. This single individual has literally come for him. To be clear, this single individual has literally come for Professor Arday, and he's not even British. He's not even from Britain. But he was so aggrieved by the promotion of Professor Arday to this position of professor, being a young black person, because it went against his belief of what black people were capable of. He started this witch hunt, and now this has given him legitimacy. So you have to understand, this is like a Nazi, literally, making the same argument about the you-know-who's in the Middle East, yeah? And then a case like this coming up, him managing to get the public on his side, and now and everyone, all the radio stations are now interviewing the Nazi. Oh, Heinrich, you seem to have called him for his foolishness, didn't you? You seem to have caught Matthew Cohen. What does this tell us about the Jewish people in general? Well, I like I said, they're very inferior. I can't do a German accent. This is literally what's happening now. This racist eugenicist who believes in biological inferiority of black people, this scientific racist who's practicing 19th century ideologies and attempting to drag them into the 21st century, is being funded, has not been kicked out from his positions in kind of senior in tried and tested British academic institutions, has sat handsomely there, and is now making his pseudoscientific right-wing, hyper right-wing, racist, and very dangerous ideologies mainstream. So just to be clear, if you're sitting on the side of the mainstream here going, oh, well, Professor Arday, oh my God, like he's embarrassing us, this, that, and the other, and you haven't even bothered to do your due diligence to see what the truth is behind this case, you are a part of the problem. So like I said before, I am happy to be on this hill. I have been on lonelier hills before. Those of you who know me, those of you who are subscribers to the King's Monologue, I will often say stuff that none of my followers agree with, and I don't give two shits. Yeah, to be clear, I don't care. I absolutely don't care, because I have integrity. I stand for what I believe in. I stand for what I believe to be truth, and I stand on business. And I'm sorry, but British people don't scare me. Okay, I've grown up with them. Those people, white is right, doesn't scare me. I don't fall for appeals to authority. I don't fall for appeals to groupthink. None of these things affect me. And so I'm quite happy to come into one of my videos and see 10,000 dislikes and 5 likes. I don't care. In fact, often that will galvanize me to do another video. And it's funny because people turn around and, oh, you're just doing it for the money. It's like, do you understand how YouTube works as a black creator? If I wanted to make money, I literally am at the opposite end of the spectrum for money making. Do you know who the most generous people in the world are when it comes to being a social influencer? Do you know who the most generous people in the world are? Racist white people. They will make you a millionaire. Yeah, just go to a park. Yeah, find a little innocent black child on a swing. Yeah, and call that little black child the N-word, and they will put £1 million in your pocket in 48 hours. That's what racist whites will do. And they love nothing more than a bootlicker. Yeah, that's why Officer Tatum is sitting, probably a millionaire now, with very incredibly low cognitive ability. Yeah, sitting there making tons of money. Jesse Lee Peterson, who is a borderline, I don't even say borderline, I actually do think he's genuinely like far end special needs, like should be, probably should be supervised. He's he's got a massive following of who racists who absolutely love his content. So if I wanted to make money, this is the opposite of what you do to make money. But I'm not in this for the money. I stand on integrity. Do I like the level of influence I have? No, I wish I had a bit more. But you know what? It's not a bad thing right now. We're doing a live stream and I've got 40 people online on my secondary channel. That's all right. That kind of sits okay with me. I can use that influence to voice what I believe to be the truth. And I think what is the truth is that these right-wing Anglo-Saxons love nothing more than to find a black patsy. They love nothing more than to place everything onto, all of their prejudices, all of their negative feelings, all of their racism that they have towards blacks and ethnic minorities, and to find someone who they feel justifies it. And even when the evidence isn't there, they will fabricate it and they will all dance on that fabrication. Like I said, what's happening to Professor Arday almost spit an image of what happened to Meghan Merkel. They just made lies up about her and then quoted those lies over and over again. And the truth doesn't matter. They would act like they had verified evidence of her doing things. Like they've literally seen her walking down the street, and you'd have 5 stories roll out about the fact that she's just, created a war in in Mumbai, because her handbag was, I don't know. This is what they do, though. This is what they do. So don't expect any less. Anyway, that's my little diatribe out of the way. Let's get into this video. The first one I'm going to show is just one that's been posted. Well, it's a few days ago. It's by Kathleen Stock. But this, I'm posting this video because this gives you a good idea about the way that, prominent white people, many times academics, they will house and hide their racism in the veneer of a incredibly well articulated kind of argument and make it sound like everything they're saying is rational, even when it doesn't have the backing of evidence. And this is exactly what I thought when I watched this video. I just thought, well, you guys are just literally you don't have anything supporting this, but you're making these claims and acting like they're substantiated, and they are not. But let's get into it. We're going to also see another interview directly from his channel, actually. So it's a video from Dr. Kehinde Andrews, where he does a really good breakdown of the entire kind of what's taken place. Now, this was done, I think, a day before Dr. Arday stepped down and resigned. And we're also going to look into a little bit of information about the person who started this entire witch hunt hate campaign, which the right-wing media have picked up on, and now everyone's picking up on, all creators are picking up on. And obviously critical thinking lacks on, in the social space. So you even have black creators picking up on this, neutral creators picking up on this, thinking that, hey, this is oh my God, he's a fraud. It's like they don't have the ability to read between the lines. They don't have the ability to do their own research and to see where does the truth lie. And you'll find that the truth lies somewhere within the line of they don't believe him because they can't do the stuff that he's said that he's claimed to do. And they're doing, they're making these wild equations of 2 + 2 = 16. Oh, he said this in his biography, but then he dropped it from his biography. Dropping something from your biography doesn't mean it's untrue. Yeah, maybe it doesn't suit the flow. Maybe it's irrelevant in the context of a story or tale they're trying to tell. Maybe they're saving it for a sequel. You don't know the reasons why, but making the claim that dropping it from the biography because it was a lie, that's just your own B grade, not even B grade, C grade investigative journalism skills showing up without anything to substantiate them. So this is what we deal with. Yeah, we deal with these people who harp on, wax lyrical about how intelligent they are, how superior they are. But when it comes down to it, it's just like the emperor's new clothes. There's nothing impressive about what they present. They're full of lies, and they rely on their own fabricated tales to, to actually present their alleged superiority. So anyway, let's listen to this. I was going to call her a Karen, but she looks more like a Anyway, let's go.
There is no academic contribution this man ever made that explains his star quality in inverted commas. And you said he's a star.
Can you give me a 1 in the chat if you heard that playing? Okay. And shout out everybody in the chat. I see you and I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on this very short notice one. Give me a 1 in the chat. I can't start. Okay, I got the 1. Let's go.
Star, but he's not a star in any conventional sense. He's a star because of his story, and that is it.
That's a dog whistle. But anyway, let's carry on.
Noticeable that this guy didn't call the police when there was allegedly a masked man marauding around a Cambridge college trying to kill him. Universities are not there to be kind. That was not their point. They were there to exemplify other values: academic brilliance, innovation, wit, cleverness. That's all they were for.
Hello and welcome back to Unheard. Jason Arday is a professor of sociology and education at the University of Cambridge. He is the youngest ever Black professor appointed by that institution.
So obviously most of you will know, but just to fill you in now, he has resigned from this position. So this, I think, is about a day and a half before he resigned. So he has resigned from the position, and he's made it very clear his resignation is not an admission of guilt. Okay, it's probably for his own mental health. One of the things that people continually miss and don't seem to care about, because the thing about British people is when they hate someone, they normally hate them to the point of suicide or kind of being involved in their unaliving. That's how the British media works. They do it over and over again. They did it with this girl who was, I can't remember who was in the Big Brother house. They did it with this journalist. They did it with Princess Di. You know, for those of you who know the UK, who grew up in the media, are the ones who are responsible for the unaliving of Princess Di. They were so horrendous to this woman for her entire life. And then when she died, it's like, oh, Princess Di. It's like, you absolute demons did this to her. You unalived her. Okay, you're the reason why she's no longer with us. All right, so they like to do that. They will hunt people to the point of their own unaliving, and I think that is what they've decided they want to do to this individual for no reason. We already know that he's, you know, on the spectrum. That's a part of his story. There's no reason to believe that that was fabricated. Okay, no one's thinking about his mental health. No one's thinking about his you know, his disability. No one cares, because he's an object now. He's an object of scorn, and he's an object to be targeted, and for them to say the worst things about, and for them to expose him. How do you think it's even safe for him to go to his university at the moment? You know? And that's why he stepped down, obviously.
And he has a quite incredible backstory. He was apparently mute until the age of 11, autistic, only learned to read and write age 18, and somehow managed, alongside a whole load of other.
And to be clear, I don't think he was mute. I think he struggled with speaking, as in he was a late developer, and he didn't gain the ability to speak fluently until the age of 11. And you know, that indicates to me a speech delay, especially if he's on the spectrum. So it's very unlikely he was a mute. It's more likely that he had a speech delay right up until age 11. Perhaps that's when things started to click into pace, you know, with the right amount of support that can happen. For those people who have anybody on the spectrum who's kind of like in their family, that can be the case. You can get the case where it's so extreme that it never resolves itself, but can be the case that a speech delay eventually corrects itself, and then eventually that person can actually become an incredibly confident and articulate person. So once again, they're talking skeptically about things they probably have very little exposure to.
Extraordinary details to end up being a professor at Cambridge. In the last week or 10 days, much of his life story seems to have unraveled. The sometimes baroque details of his...
So to be clear, they said unraveled there. Unraveled, by their estimation, is we've decided it's not true. Unraveled isn't it's been proven true, or it's been refuted, or it's been debunked, or we found evidence to the contrary. It's simply saying this sounds ridiculous. Notice how there's a distinct lack of Jason Arday in all of these people's claims. They haven't allowed the man to speak for himself. They haven't allowed the man to defend himself. They're not interested in that. What they're interested in is a smear campaign where they can say whatever they want about him. Okay, that's what they do in the British media.
Story seems to have unraveled. The sometimes
I'm just going to speed this up, guys, by the way, because the playback is too slow. Let's get through. That's a 2026 attention span, isn't it?
rock details of his incredible feats in fundraising, sport, and academia seem to be falling apart. It's rapidly turning into a parable of our time.
And here's what's interesting: they always use these kind of superlatives and they make it sound like, oh no, and they don't notice that there's a distinct lack of evidence for anything that they say. It's just, well, I'm educated and I speak with received pronunciation. I said so. This is what's taking place in the story, and that's it. It's kind of like, what do you mean? What are you refuting? Let's do. You've gone through quite a lot of different facts there that you said are unraveling. Provide the evidence that they've unraveled, please.
Clean Stock is a star columnist at Unheard. She wrote perhaps the definitive piece about Professor Jason Arday. She's actually taken the trouble to read his book.
So she's this is what you call the ringleader hater. She's a professional, consummate hater, this woman.
And read some of his work. And she joins us now to explore this very, very strange case. Welcome to Unheard, Kath.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Let's just lay out, first of all, who this guy is, because some people listening might not yet have heard of Jason Arday. It's been a story that's provoked a huge amount of excitement on social media and in some newspapers. But who is...
Interesting word there, excitement. Do you see what I mean? He took a deep breath. A story that's, galvanized a huge amount of excitement, like he's jizzing in his pants. Why are you so excited about a black professor potentially losing his job because of some allegations about his CV being slightly embellished? I mean, it's not that exciting. Put it into context. Is it really that exciting? If it is that exciting to you, you have to ask yourself, why do you find it so exciting? That's interesting for me to know.
Who is Jason Arday?
He's a professor of the sociology of education at the University of Cambridge, but he's also had a storied media career because of this incredible backstory that he comes with and that has been made full use of by the institutions that have employed him, which says that he was mute, I think, to the age of 11, that he didn't learn to read or write till he was in his late teens, that he always wanted to be an Oxbridge professor. One day he wrote on his wall, "I'll be an Oxbridge professor," and lo and behold, he eventually was. And there are all sorts of other, as we'll get into, I'm sure, there are all sorts of other colourful aspects of his alleged past that have accompanied his trajectory in academia. They've been absolutely made part and parcel of his story. So it is important to talk about those too.
Yeah, so he's not just a random professor. He's kind of a star of the Cambridge firmament in that he was appointed in 2023. At that point, he was the youngest ever black professor at Cambridge. They made quite a song and dance about it. He has guest edited the Today program. He's been profiled by Good Morning America. People are lining up to praise his work. And obviously part of the excitement around him is...
So this is the thing. This was the nail in the coffin for Dr. Arday. Okay, he's incredibly... This is what you call an archetypal kind of like... Yeah, an archetype. This is someone that they're going to find incredibly threatening. Do you understand? They're going to find him incredibly threatening, okay? They view him as someone who is ticking all the boxes. And the thing about when you're black, you're allowed to tick some boxes. You can be you can tick the athlete box, okay? You can tick the intellectual box. We're probably not going to make you a professor, but if you are going to be a professor, that better be all you can do, okay? What we don't want to see is you ticking that polymath block, that box where you're articulate, you're popular, you're interesting, you've done lots of things, you're athletic. He's ticking too many boxes here. They're going to strip you of one or more of those accolades. They're not going to let you exist. Okay, so now what they've done is they've decided, hey, look, you saying you've done all these things, that's fine, but you're stupid. Yeah. No. Listen to you're stupid. Yeah. We've decided. Yes, the council, the council of British bigots has decided that you henceforth will be a dimwit, and that's what they're doing. They are stripping him literally in real time of his intelligence. That's literally what they're doing.
Is this incredible backstory, and we're going to come on to that and this increasing sense that many of those details aren't really checking out, but this story really began with the plagiarism allegations, and that's really the substantial beginning of this story. So tell us about those.
And to be clear, the plagiarism allegations, which have been proven to be false. I will be showing Dr. Andrews' video a bit later, which will substantiate the fact that the plagiarism allegations are indeed unfounded. And a lot of people don't realize that there is a degree of flexibility when it comes to a PhD submission because of the volume of work that's submitted. And what has actually been clarified is that it's not plagiarism because he's referenced the work that they're accusing him of plagiarism from multiple times. All that's it's the case of, all they have evidence of is that it was poorly referenced, and that should have been strengthened. And that was the job of the supervisor to pull this out. So it was the supervisor's lack of rigor in terms of marking his paper that has put him in this situation, not the fact that he's a poor scholar, even though it's been classified as poor scholarship, but it's the fact that you're expected to get feedback to be able to improve your paper, okay?
Mentality doesn't just happen in politics or in markets. It happens in the...
No, we ain't doing all that. You need to skip that. You're giving me an ad break. Right, there we go. Skip ahead. Who do you think you are?
For 40% off.
Well, plagiarism allegations have been circulating for a couple of years. For instance, there's a professor.
To be clear, is she got to say who started the plagiarism allegations? Because they all started with Nathan. What's this racist guy's name? Let me see. I've got them on my screens. Wait. They all started with. Here we go. I can't find it at the moment. We're going to come up to this video in a moment anyway. But as a far-right racist guy who's a eugenicist who believes that black people are biologically inferior. Will she mention that?
The emeritus professor at Plymouth Marjon called Dave Harris, who has had allegations of plagiarism and detailed them on his website, on his personal website, since I think at least 2023. So if they've been in the public domain, and Harris, along with another professor called Martin Hammersley, who independently found some problems with his published output. At the time, in 2023, they contacted Arday himself, Professor Hilary Kremen, who is the head of the Faculty of Education at Cambridge. They also contacted Arday's PhD supervisor, that was at Liverpool John Moores. So basically, they tried to draw this to the attention, and they contacted journal editors because they were saying, look, there are really weird things going on in these articles. There is repetition of data. There is apparent plagiarism. There are some terrible spelling mistakes. There's lots going on here. But basically, they were dismissed, shut.
And to be clear, so you've had these professors or these PhDs who've turned around and said, look, this looks like plagiarism, which first of all is kind of like a bit weird because like, why are they all kind of like really honed in on this person's work? And many people have raised the fact this because he actually did his paper on quite an inflammatory subject. And the thing about the worst thing that they hate you talking about, Kofnas, thank you very much. Nathan Kofnas, that's the name I was trying to come with. Thank you, Tim, shout out to you. Yeah, so the nature of his paper was inflammatory, and the thing about the UK, they don't like you talking about race, but the problem is near enough all black PhDs talk about race because they don't really grant us PhD research research grants unless we do something to do with race. Like, oh, you're black, why didn't you do it about black being why didn't you do your paper about being black in STEM? You know, that tends to be how they pigeonhole black academics, and they make it very difficult to do different topics. So that's one of the problems that we face. But the fact of the matter is, all of this scrutiny to me seems peculiar. And as she just said there, when these were submitted to not only the university, but the journal threw it out. So I need to quickly say this very, very clearly. The journal who these professors said, turned around and said, oh, he's plagiarized. The journal who published him said, no, it's not plagiarism. At the point where the journal rejects the plagiarism claim, you can't call this DEI or corruption. The journal has no business and has no benefit supporting any kind of EDI or anything like that. The journal would be the first to say, you know, that's why they have peer review. The whole purpose of peer review is to find stuff that's wrong with an article and potentially remove it from a journal. Okay, that happens as a part of the academic process. In this case, it wasn't. So then you have to ask yourself the question, where is this all coming from?
Down, accused of racism in some cases, and then at times high reportable.
They were accused of racism because they could already pick out, even before, this is not by him, but they could already pick out from before anything that it was racism. And they're like, what? They're probably thinking, what the hell is going on? Why are all of these old middle-aged white men so concerned about this guy's paper? Like, this is bizarre. If you've got issues or some feedback about the paper, you submit it the normal way, and that's via peer review.
Called Jack Grove did a massively in-depth bit of reporting or investigating into this story, came up with many of the details that are now in the public domain, but the Times higher editors did not want to publish it. You can draw your own conclusions about why. Now, in the last few weeks, Nathan Coffness, who is I think he's still a postdoctoral student, but he's at the University of Ghent in philosophy, who is known for
that demon. Yeah, I wonder if she's going to say what he's actually known for. I want to see if she actually mentions what Nathan Coffness is known for. Let's have a look.
Weeks, Nathan Coffness, who is I think he's still a postdoctoral student, but he's at the University of Ghent in philosophy, who is known for his controversial views on race and IQ.
The university upheld
controversial views on race and IQ. So they're quoting a man who's known for his controversial views on race and IQ. The guy is a literal eugenicist. He's literally a eugenicist. This is not controversial views. He's made it clear he doesn't think that black people have the biological capability, the mental dexterity to even occupy certain positions. This is like probably beyond what many people were even saying in the 19th century. And this woman has literally euphemized his crimes to, he just got a little bit of a difference of opinion to me. Like, these people are sick. Yeah, they're sick.
The complaint against him, I think. The statement he had said was something along the lines of, in a true meritocracy, there would be 0 black professors.
He also said they'd be known for entertainment and sport. Black people would mostly be known for entertainment and sport.
So he's sort of known.
Okay, let's see.
For his, to put it mildly, controversial interest in the nexus between race and IQ. So to many people, the fact that Nathan Coffness was the person who first resurfaced this story confirmed their fears and prejudice that actually this was a kind of right-wing racist attack, a smear campaign on a perfectly good professor. And as a result, there was a very quick knee-jerk defense of him. This thing called the Good Law Project, which Jolyon Morm is involved in, sort of produced a letter that lots of grandees have signed saying that this is an outrageous attack and nobody should defend it. So as it were, the kind of defense mechanism for Professor Arday was already activated really last week, beginning of last week. And since then, there have been a few major milestones that have just gradually disassembled the case for Jason Arday. I'd say the first was your Unheard piece that kind of blew the lid off the whole.
Disassembled the case for Jason Arday. So let's hear what they say, or what their claim is for what actually disassembles the case for Jason Arday. So according to them, there's no case for him. It's been judged in the court of public opinion. Yes, the media have judged this man is guilty of being a fraud. And let's hear what the evidence was.
Affair, and you had actually spent time reading his work, unlike everyone else who had just read the Coffness piece. So tell us about that. I mean, that was a new dimension that I think really opened people's eyes to this. What's it like?
It's terrible. It's terrible. So the plagiarism seems absolutely, the allegations seem unassailable to me and to anyone else who's neutral and looks at this. They would absolutely not be tolerated in a student, let alone someone at his level. And
they say someone at his level, and yet Liverpool John Moores have said it's fine. A large body of professors have said it's absolutely fine. The Cambridge Appeal Board, who looked at it, also turned around and said it's fine. Now, to be clear, no one's saying his paper is perfect. No one's defending the veracity. Really, the feedback seems to suggest is that his PhD paper is kind of like the kind of PhD you'd get, but prior to final submission. It feels like a work in progress. Yeah, maybe a version 2 or 3 where you need to get some more feedback. So it shouldn't have been the final submission. The fact that it was the final submission cannot be blamed on him. And this is the thing. If you're going to turn around and say, oh, his paper's terrible, this, that, and the other, why is that being directed towards him? That's not his crime. Oh, his paper's awful, this, that. What did he do? Did he bribe Liverpool John Moores University? Did he bribe his supervisor? You've got no evidence of any foul play. And the real talk is here. This is what's really important. The amount of academics who likely look like these two people on the screen, who get away with submitting substandard PhDs, and nobody ever looks twice at what they've submitted. No one never come under any kind of scrutiny. Don't get it twisted for 1 minute. Yeah, this is not some exceptional case. They're trying to paint to the general public that what's happening with Jason Arday is not an exceptional case. In reality, this is just part and parcel of the academic experience where, you know, people get through sometimes on something that's relatively substandard. Okay, that's reality of the situation.
Even if you left aside the plagiarism, which you shouldn't, but even if you did, there is no way that this person meets the standards of the professorial archetype, or even a lecturer archetype for that matter. It's really, really bad. So I've read...
And to be clear, he didn't get the professorship based on the quality of his PhD. His PhD was an aside. He got the professorship because he exhibited the range, the skills, the CV, yeah, the experience, the knowledge in the direction that they were building towards, to say this is the right person to fulfill this role. What I did mention before is, would there have been a slight kind of like, well, this guy has been on television, you know, he has got an interesting story, where they weighed some of that in and that influenced their positions? Like, yes, of course there is. Why is everyone acting like that's not a part of a meritocracy? When you go for an interview at a top institution like, you know, Cambridge or Oxford, and you turn up with nothing but your grades, and then someone else turns up who maybe has slightly lower grades than you, but they're a gymnast, they speak a couple of extra languages, they're well traveled, they show an aptitude to do X, Y, and Z other things. Who do you think gets the position? The book nerd, or the book nerd with life experience and lots of different things and interests, and who shows an aptitude for being someone who could, you know, offer something back to the institution? It's always the latter. So why are people acting like the things that he's done, his media appearances, all of this shouldn't have been considered when he was taking his role? That's just not the way it works. Literally, in any job you go for, people are going to be interested in your extracurricular activities, particularly when it comes to educational roles. So why are people acting like that's some wild thing? Okay, it's not a wild thing at all.
I read a few journal articles. There's this really interesting disconnect between the journal articles and the books. So the journal articles, standard boilerplate critical race theory, full of cliches and familiar dogmatic phrases like...
Cliches, familiar dogmatic phrases. This is someone who obviously has an issue with critical race theory. And obviously, let me tell you something right now. When it comes to the UK, they hate anything to do with racial accountability. This is the nation who will deny there's any inkling of racism at any level. They believe it's a total meritocracy, whilst fighting against anything that will actually make it a meritocracy. This is the epicenter. Yeah, this is, I think Jamil said it best. The UK is Thanos when it comes to racism. Yeah.
Like, you know, hegemony of whiteness and all the other CRT phrases that pop up time and time again. And it's very trenchant, very militant. And then the books, he's...
Dog whistles. Can you hear them? Can you hear the dog whistles? Trenchant, militant. Yeah. They know exactly what they're doing, how they're speaking, and who they're speaking against when they make these kind of phrases.
Got a book called Cool Britannia, which is about Britpop and racism. I could put it like that. It's an autoethnographic study of how he really, really fell in love with Oasis and Blur, but then he discovered that there was this dark racist undertone to the Britpop movement. And then he's got another book.
Okay, and she's scoffing as she's saying this, as though maybe the book didn't appeal to you, but maybe it's appealed to lots of people. Maybe the book struck a chord with lots of different people. Maybe that's why he's got I think the book deal was estimated to be like 1.4 million pounds or something like that. But he's got a book deal that's worth several, you know, in excess of £1 million. And you're a columnist, and I don't think you probably haven't got a book deal. All you can do is hate on other people. This is where the hate comes from. Okay, oh, he has his book on. Well, someone's buying his books. Little Miss Scoff a lot, yeah. Lady Scoff, yeah. Someone's buying his books, yeah.
about neurodiversity that he co-authored with a female academic called Chantal Lewis. Those books, they ramble, they veer unevenly between kind of chatty self-help and academic buzzwords. The sentences collapse constantly. You have to read sentences over and over again, and then you realize it's just like in search of a payoff of meaning that just doesn't come.
So all in all, I could play this in full, guys, but I hope you're getting the picture here. She's just condemned him on the fact that she doesn't like him. She doesn't like what he writes about. She doesn't like, she doesn't like what he writes about. She doesn't like the fact that he's managed to get into this position. Well, if you look at the substance of her accusations, it's all kind of like, blah, oh, the plagiarism, which she said with authority multiple times, where the plagiarism has been dismissed. Okay, it was dismissed by the Journal, it was dismissed by Cambridge University, it was dismissed by Liverpool John Moores University, and it was dismissed by a panel of PhDs who looked at it. So you can sit there with your hate and your far right partners who all sit shoulder to shoulder, stand shoulder to shoulder together. Me and Nathan Coffness still think it's a plagiarized. Well, no one cares what you and Nathan Coffness think. Anyway, that's this little witch aside. Let's move on, okay? Because I want to just quickly, for those of you who don't know who Nathan Coffness is, there's a really good summary, and I kind of want to give some shine to this video that I pulled up on Instagram. I don't know who this individual is, but he did a really brilliant job of kind of summarizing the situation. So this is Novo.org. You can check him out, but this is a great video. So tune in, have a listen.
Professor, accusations of plagiarism and embellishment and exaggeration and straight out lies about his CV. But one thing that you might have seen is this man.
Racist is just the word that they use to refer to somebody who questions the woke ideology.
Platform now on different podcasts and TV news channels. His name is Nathan Coffness, an American philosopher of biology. But one of the reasons that he's controversial is because he doesn't just dislike the idea of increasing representation amongst academics in the UK, where less than 2% of professors are Black. Instead, he thinks that we should scrap the idea of increasing.
Just to be clear, I think it's actually closer to 1% of professors are Black. So the glass ceiling to professorships is very real. And don't get it twisted. Most of those people who will be in those positions of being a professor in the UK will probably be occupying race-specific positions as well. So this is the thing. Yeah, they already pigeonhole Black people so much. Now, bear in mind, what you should be looking for is a kind of a parity between the population percentage and the percentage of professors. Okay, so 4% of the population is the UK, 1% of the professors, I already explained yesterday. And that means we're like 1/4 of the chance of being able to occupy a role as a professor in the UK. Now, obviously, that's going to cascade downwards somewhat to the number of PhDs that we have. And once again, that is also something that is being filtered and very much restricted by the academic overclass, so to speak, who make it very difficult for Black people to get PhD awards in very general studies. They often have to specialize in race specific things. For those people who think I'm just kind of like waffling, I'm not. I've interviewed multiple PhDs, and I say this constantly because I always have this conversation with them, and they've all had relatively similar experiences when it comes to this. So this is a very real thing. Now, is there a possibility that all of the PhDs that I interviewed were a specific kind of PhD and they don't represent all Black PhDs? Of course, there's that possibility, but they're all in different subjects. They don't know each other. So why would that pattern show up if it wasn't a real thing? Okay.
Increasing representation because we are not biologically equal. Black people are less intelligent than their white peers. It's something that he believes. Hereditarianism, also what he calls race realism. Part of why people like him have gained prominence might do or have something to do with funding. We're talking about Peter Thiel, people like Charles Vaughan, who is connected to Thiel's venture capital fund, who has been able to create a network of academics at institutions like Oxford and Cambridge who believe in pseudoscientific race science.
So that's very scary, okay? The fact that these racist people have been able to use their money to implement these kind of pseudoscientific departments in the two top global universities, arguably two of the top universities in the world. That should be terrifying to everybody hearing this. And I think most people, it will go over your heads. Most white people, sorry, no offense, but won't give a shit. And this is the reality. So the whole DEI argument, which isn't even valid in the UK because we don't have DEI, we have EDI, and it's incredibly ineffective. But even that whole kind of like, you know, black people being given an easy ride or being given qualifications, there's no data to support it. The numbers don't support it. The outcomes don't support it. The routes and the routes to promotion don't support it. None of this is supported. It's just literally made up. So all this is an attack on people who either legitimately or have had to have fought, you know, 10 times harder than their white equivalent. Now I'm gonna have to fight 20 times as hard, or perhaps just not even have the door open to them. This is what they're working towards.
For example, Charles Murray, who co-wrote The Bell Curve in 1994 and argued that there were biological differences in terms of intelligence, and that is based on race. But the Human Genome Project mapped out all of our DNA. And what they found is that if you took any two human beings on Earth, they share 99.9% of the same DNA. So where do these ideas come from, and have they been disproved? Well, on the latter, yes. We're talking about the American Psychological Association, which published papers 2 years after The Bell Curve was released and found that environmental factors were the cause. Or you could talk about Nisbet et al. In 2012, who found that when you took into account these environmental differences, then you could explain to a large degree differences in terms of IQ testing, which is...
Now, for those of you who are kind of like familiar with, whoops, what did I just do? I don't know what I just did there. But those of you who are kind of familiar with my channel, you'll know that I did a relatively kind of like in-depth study / video documentary on the whole IQ scandal when Elon Musk first started kicking that back up again. There's those false IQ tests, and you know, it doesn't take that much research to realize exactly what went on there and how they manipulated the data and manipulated the outcomes. And part of me would be like, even like this, even entertaining these people by responding to their nonsense is a waste of time. So it's important to know that, like, you don't have to prove to these people that black people are intelligent, because a lot of these people can't be convinced. They have no intention of being convinced. They are operating in bad faith. Most of them don't even believe a lot of the shite that they propose. They don't even believe it. They just feel inferior as an individual, and the group appeal makes them safe. Like I mentioned in yesterday's live stream, the group appeal provides and creates an environment where they can look down on someone who is in every single way their superior and say, well, you belong to the inferior group and I'm more superior than you tall, black, dashing, well-endowed, intelligent, smart black man. That's what they want. They desperately need their group to be superior. So take it as a compliment when a white person, particularly these insecure white males, throw this accusation at you, this IQ accusation. Take it as a compliment. Yeah, they need that to be real. Yeah, give them a hug, give them a virtual hug. Most of them will do it online. They wouldn't do face to face because they know they get a backhand. But if they do it online, give them a hug. Say, oh, you need a hug, don't you? Oh, my IQ's like, oh, God, you really need that group, don't you? You really desperately need your group to be superior. People who make comments on my channel because they feel inferior. They feel inferior listening to me speak. They feel inferior looking at me. They feel inferior in every way, shape, or form. And so they come and they make comments, oh, like you, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, come on, dude. You know what time it is. Yeah, you know what time it is. You know you would be me in a heartbeat. So just like pity these people. They need that. People who appeal to this kind of like group mentality really need it to be real, because on an individual basis, they are lacking something substantial. That's the reality of the situation. So please, haters who come here, please leave your hate. Do what you need to do. Like, I lap it up. You must see me in the comments. It's very enjoyable replying to you, responding to you, laughing at you, pitying you. You literally mean nothing to me. I must make that very, very clear. On that note, I think I've screwed up that video, but I kind of gave you the crux of what I want to give you in that video. The last video I want to dive into is the video by Dr. Kehinde Andrews, where he kind of goes into a good amount of detail, but he's not being interviewed. So this is an opportunity for him on his, I think this is his own channel, Make It Plain. So feel free to drop him a little subscribe, Make It Plain. I'm pretty sure, 99% sure this is his channel. Feel free to like jump in there, leave a subscribe, but I'm going to let him kind of explain the entire situation of the kind of the Nathan Arday situation, to give you a little bit of context from his perspective as a, you know, as a fellow Black academic, as to in regards to what he feels has taken place here.
We're off the plantation right now. And yeah, like I said, not just me.
I feel a little bit bad as well. The first part of the video that I've jumped ahead of, he literally is talking about the fact that he used to be the professor of Black studies, and the university that he was at, I think it was Birmingham City University, basically closed. Well, they didn't close, but they basically dramatically shrunk the department from 5 to 2. So he lost his job there. He's in the process of taking them to court over that. So there's going to be legal. Yeah, there's going to be legal representations made regarding the way that him and his colleagues were essentially dismissed from that position. This is where we are now. This is post-Trumpian UK. But anyway, let me let him get into it now. And actually, he speaks quite fast, so I'm actually going to do him the courtesy of actually slowing this video down. Oh, it's already on normal. Okay, cool. Let's go.
I'm not going to tell everybody's story. We're going to have, like I said, more to come. There will be more to come. What I wanted to tie this into, because I do think this is important, because you would have probably noticed in the press that Jason Arday, Professor Jason Arday, who's now at the University of Cambridge, Sociology Education, is being slammed in the press. Firstly, mostly the right-wing press, but also the Guardian jumped on a little bit with a kind of balanced article, but still. Mostly, but it's been the Times, the Telegraph, Daily Mail. They're doing article after article after article coming for Jason. Now, a little bit of context here. I actually spoke to Professor Arday. You know, I'm going to call him Jason. Drop the professor. The professor thing I don't like. Never really liked it. Still don't like it. Now I can get rid of it, maybe. But you probably still call me professor because...
I feel like you could still call him doctor. You know, you can still call him doctor. I don't know. I just feel like, you know, give him that respect in the context of, you know, how he's being spoken to. I feel like if they just addressed him as Jason Arday, that's literally just a slight. They're trying to slight him and take away the hard effort he's put in to actually gain those accolades. So, you know, maybe it's just me, but yeah.
People seem to like it. But I spoke to Jason months ago about this, because this has been rumbling around in the background. And the primary allegation is about the PhD and plagiarism allegation. Now, I want to really stress here, these have been dealt with. These have been assessed and analyzed. So it's not like this is a new thing. Like, it's, oh, brand new, look at that. No, this has been discussed. Know about it. It's been exonerated, it's been cleared. I read it, he sent me his PhD, I've actually read it. I read it, I had a look. And there are definitely, what do we call it? I even said, he admits that there being bad scholarship in there, right? Definitely is, no doubt about it. There's some poor scholarship in around citation practices, stuff like that. It should have been picked up. I also want to stress here.
So just to be clear, you all heard what he said there. He said this has been done and dusted. Okay, there's no plagiarism. Yeah, it's been done and dusted. This is not someone who is disingenuous or who's operating bad faith. It's been done and dusted. It's been looked at by multiple people. Is there bad scholarship? And he explains the bad scholarship is in the field of the citations and the referencing. These are things that should have been picked up by the supervisor. But in terms of this, oh, he definitely plagiarized, which the media are going crazy with, they don't have the data to support that. They should have dropped that, but they're not gonna drop it because they're like a, you know, they're like a pit bull with a human leg in them. Like, they're not gonna let go. They're like a pit bull with lockjaw. These people are driven, they're motivated, and they're wicked. That is the reality of the situation.
Someone who knows this and does this and done this for a living, has supervised many PhDs, has examined many PhDs. I'm looking at those mistakes. That's the university's mistakes. That's stuff that shouldn't have got through supervision, should have been corrected. Supervisor, you're a student, and you're a PhD, you're a student. You're still learning the game, and someone didn't teach the game properly, and that's what came out. So even if the mistakes in there, very, very, very clearly should have been, there are supervisory mistakes.
So he's making it clear he's approached this in the correct way as a student. Okay, he submitted something that, yes, is substandard as a student and required marking. So therefore, it's a supervisory error. It's not an error or deliberate kind of like, you know, deliberate deception that was created by Dr. Arday. None of this is true. It's just media spin. So it's really important that you guys listen to this, because they're running away with these narratives. You have to understand the UK media are consumer liars. Okay, they are liars. So you can't take their side when it comes to stuff like this.
Institutional mistake should have been picked up. How do you train when you're teaching someone to do something and you clearly haven't taught them properly, and you've accepted work that should have been corrected? All right. So I want to say that straight up. The idea that he doesn't deserve a PhD, nonsense. PhDs are marked on contributing to knowledge, not the literature review. Right? That is not. So straight up, that's the key thing. That does matter, right? So if you had somebody who had faked their PhD and they come out new and get allegations of plagiarism, actually shouldn't really be qualified, I guess that would be a story. But that is not this story. This has been investigated and he's been cleared. And like I said, I read it. It's for the same thing.
Boom. Okay. This is bit. In fact, I think I've got. Is that boom? I can't remember what sound effects I've got. I can't remember what sound effect was programmed there. The fact of the matter is, this has been investigated and he has been cleared. You just heard that, guys. Okay. Now, the media aren't telling you that side of the story. In fact, the media haven't mentioned that at all. They're acting like this is a cascade of things that are getting worse. First, it was the plagiarism. Then it was the CV lies. And you have to understand, they're not substantiating any of this. They're not. They're not substantiating any of this. This literally is a witch hunt. This is a man who's been sitting on his land, and the flipping KK, you know who's, have turned up with the pitchforks and torches at his door, and they've said, "We're taking your house. You need to leave now." Yeah, this is what's happening on an academic level. That's what's taking place here. Yeah, don't get it twisted. It's not like these are substantiated. Everybody is so certain. They're so certain that, oh, don't defend this guy. Oh, he's awful. Oh, this, that, and the other. It's like, based on what? Are you just saying it because the last person said it, and is the last person saying it because this person before said it? But so far, none of you have given me that smoke and gun of evidence that anything that you're saying is true. In fact, I'm hearing the opposite.
All right, so on that, move on.
Here's a sorry, let's so for instance, there's one in my chat right now. He's a fraud. Okay, no evidence posted. Kehinde, his name's Kehinde. Okay, Kane, Dr. Kehinde to you, Dr. Kehinde to you, not Kehinde, Dr. Kehinde. Yeah, that's his name, not Kehinde. You're the idiot. You can't even spell someone's name right, whose name is on the flipping screen. Yeah, you can't even spell someone's name right. You're uneducated, and you're calling two people who have got PhDs idiots when you don't even probably have anything beyond your GCSEs, you absolute clown.
Right, there's some allegations around his other work, some of his earlier published work, which probably had some of the same mistakes in it, because like I said, not giving that right.
Oh, I watched the guy who went to I watched the guy who went to school with him and he said he was lying through his teeth. So that's your source. A guy who sits in his car with his sunglasses on, talking about, yeah, me and him, we went to school together. What are you talking about? Like, I knew the family. A guy whose name you don't even know. You are 12 kinds of stupid, respectfully.
Support, but again, those have also been investigated by the journals. And now the big reason why this is a smear, and I say smear, is because the underlying premise, but he made the New York Post. The New York Post is that international news, you know.
It's gone so far beyond that. As now, imagine he made this 5 days ago. This is now True Geordie posted a video on this. Flipping, everyone's posting a video on this, and everybody's listening to the right-wing media. And for some reason, when it comes to Black people, everybody forgets what a reliable source is. Yeah, forget the institutions that have historically targeted Black people. Forget the fact that many of these stories are coming out of GB News. When it comes to Black people, you have to understand, guys, it's open season. No one cares. No one cares about journalistic integrity. No one cares about media bias. No one cares about history of far-right race. No one cares. The only people who are here to stand up for and defend Black people are Black people. This is why I always take this stance by default. And lo and behold, the data seems to always fall in line with what I believe when I take that stance, by the way, because that's just common sense. when black people continually reset themselves to the center, even though they are continually proven that this, you know, this group of people have got a nefarious outcome for them, but they continually say, no, 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 I'm going to treat this like it's like there's no history and we're starting from scratch. Well, you're a moron. I can't help you. You are stupid, and in time you will get exactly what you deserve. Yeah, that's what you'll get.
Out of the UK, now it's in the New York Post. This is a smear because underlying this, it's not, oh, we found someone who maybe cheated. The underlying argument here is he proves that DEI hires are happening and undermining education. How could this black man possibly be at Cambridge? Oh, because he's lying, because he's a fraud, because he's fake. That's what DEI does. That's the underlying thing. And this is why it's just mirror. This is why it's completely, utterly wrong.
I'm going to bring that back, okay? Because I think it's important that everybody hears this again, okay? Everybody hears this again.
Because underlying this, it's not, oh, we found, you know, I got out of the UK. Now it's in the New York Post. This is a smear because underlying this, it's not, oh, we found someone who maybe cheated. The underlying argument here is he proves that DEI hires are happening and undermining education. How could this black man possibly be at Cambridge? Oh, because he's lying, because he's a fraud, because he's fake. That's what DEI does. That's the underlying thing. And this is why it's just mirror. This is why it's completely, utterly wrong. All right. Now, look, I've worked in higher education. I've been in higher education as a student and academic since, when did I start uni? 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. 2002. I started in 2002. That's 24 years experience in this industry. I promise you, there is no special treatment for black people. No, I take that back. There is special treatment for black people. We get treated worse.
100%. 100%. People talking about, oh, there's special treatment for black people. And he couldn't even say there's no special treatment for black people, because everybody knows, yeah, there's definitely special treatment for black people. It's 100 times harder. And guess what? That's not unique to academics. We know it's exactly the same in the vocational world. We know it's exactly the same in literally every single walk of life. We have to be 5 times more squeaky clean. We have to be 10 times more brilliant. I always hearken on to the fact that I could ask the entire chat right now, even the ones who are trolling, name me some the most incompetent managers you've ever had, yeah? And I guarantee you that most of you will list for me white men. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but the reason there's such a proliferation of incompetent white males in workforces, you know how many shit lecturers I had? By the way, I went to my university experience was crap, and I had terrible lecturers, terrible ones who, you know, hadn't even prepared their lectures and they just turned up. Everybody in the chat right now can tell you about a shite white manager they have, a white guy who just turns up, who doesn't do anything. You know why? Because no one's expecting them. No one's expecting anything from them. They don't have to hit their targets. They don't have to do, like, these guys just get a free ride in a fancy car. Now, if you're a black person, you better believe that the first time you screw up, you're going to be out on your ass. Yeah. If you're a woman, woo, yeah. The only people who get this DEI treatment are white men. They're the only ones who they just turn up and it's kind of like, you know what? I haven't done this before. I'm getting a good feeling about you. I'm getting a really good feeling about you. I know you just come here for the job as the barista, but how about you take the job as regional manager? Because I don't know, there's just something about the way you carry yourself, Stephen. You just back straight. You seem like you could have no GCSEs. Don't worry about the GCSEs. We can put those aside. You will report directly to me, Stephen, and we're going to make sure that you can make district manager. This is definitely right. This is what they do. Yeah. Yeah. You always get these incompetent white males that they just jump to the top. This is the reality. Yeah. And then people are moaning about DEI. Like, there's a bunch of like incompetent black, brown females. Like, there isn't. Yeah. The incompetent ones are the white men. Yeah. That's the reality of the situation. And all they want to do is preserve those positions so that they can give them to their sons and their, that's what they want. Yeah, because they've never worked hard to get into those top positions and they don't want to start now. Yeah, they don't need black people making it harder for them. Dregger, shout out to you. I don't know if this is related to, but you probably got to know someone called Howie. So I shouted effing Howie when you said that. Everybody can shout out a name. Okay, I could shout out a guy from the job. Literally, I could shout out for my last 3 jobs. I could shout out the incompetent white men that were running those organizations. Absolute jokes of human beings, like idiots, like proper, like you are a moron. You are an absolute moron. How the hell are you the MD? Who gave you this job? Okay, and we all know it's white privilege, and these people have the nerve, the absolute temerity to talk about, oh, DEI is changing the standards and making it too easy for the blacks. Give me a frigging break, man.
We get marginalized. We get made redundant. We're the most successful people in the uni. Like, look, believe me here talking to you, who's worked at an institution, BCU, for almost 12 years. In those 12 years, I promise you, no one has done as much publications, research funding, done as much international work, done as much community engagement. Nobody could match my output for the last 12 years at BCU. In the uni, I'd put it up against anybody. And this isn't even arrogant. This is just real talk. Like real talk. I work really hard, and all of our colleagues in Black Studies, we do some really good things.
So he's talking about the usual black experience there, putting in 20 times the effort of his colleagues. He's saying with confidence, and why would I not believe him, that he's literally outworked all of his colleagues in terms of the amount that they've outputted. Now, part of that would have been predicated by the fact that I'd imagine he felt vulnerable in that position. As a black person, this is not the States, yeah? In the UK, having a black studies department, that's already like, oh, you're teetering on the edge of credibility there. Like you're literally asking for outsiders to come in and to inspections to be taken. Oh, what's this for? Black studies department, blah blah blah. So he knows that. So in the knowledge of the fact that he's teetering on the edge of a subject that they already gonna want to get rid of, he's gonna work hard, twice as hard, doubly, triply as hard as everybody else. But as you can see in his example, even that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be safe. So we know when we're being set upon, we know when we're being preyed upon as a community. We're not stupid. Yeah, we're very, very aware of this taking place.
Like nobody could match in the university, and I'd even say, look, outside the university it'd be difficult. Look at that track record. Look at my CV. Look at the things I've done. It's immaculate. Like real talk. And again, take it as arrogance if you want, but that's just real. Like we have to start talking ourselves up. That's real talk. So you got the most successful person in the place, and you get told you're redundant, and we get told, oh no, we don't need you. Oh no, yeah, our research is fine without you. Our stuff is fine without you. Our teams are fine without you. Doesn't matter. At least you work twice as hard, be twice as good. They still don't get rid of you, right? This applies to me, and it applies to others who will let go. That's how we get treated. And given my CV.
And that's our preferential treatment, by the way. That's our special DEI treatment. No, you're such a soft touch. Oh, you're so guaranteed. It's like, at least in the States, yeah, they did have a semi-effective affirmative action, which then evolved to become the DEI kind of like thing. In the UK, there's not even like a track record of effective equality. We've always kind of like worked towards having some kind of regulation in place, okay, which there was a short period of time, perhaps just before New Labour took power, so kind of like leading from the 90s to kind of like the early 2000s, where there was a little bit of a campaign to kind of like, yeah, let's get a few coloured folk in here, let's get a few more coloured folk. But since then it's entirely collapsed. There's no regulation in the UK. There's no obligation to hire black people. There's just nothing. Do you understand what I mean? You've got people who are incredibly experienced, incredibly knowledgeable, and they're just kind of languishing in these jobs that they know are well beneath them, but they know the jobs that they want to get, they're not going to be offered them. That's the reality of being black in the UK. This kind of like mythical, and the thing about it is no one even believes it. So even all these white people who are making the complaint, oh yeah, we need to get rid of DEI, it's kind of like, you guys know it's not real, right? None of you guys have got this kind of like black manager who's like running the department who doesn't deserve to be there. No one's witnessed this in the UK because it doesn't exist. In the UK, when you have a black superior, they are overqualified for that position. Always, without exception, always.
Data standing, all that stuff. I ain't got people knocking down my door for a job. I'm unemployed. Like I said, technically right now, unemployed. It doesn't make no sense. Given the track record, given everything, given that. That's how we get treated. Believe me, we do not get positive, beneficial treatment. No one's ever handed me a damn thing because I'm black. Everything's fought for, clawed for, held on for a little piece.
I'm going to put this on the screen. Sorry, I just want to put this comment on the screen. Yeah, this is where I'm standing right now. Someone said when I was on the call this morning when I called into the podcast, someone said, "So what is it? Free Arday, yeah?" That should be the new hashtag Free Arday. In fact, I'm going to put that in the chat right now. Yeah, that's the new, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm starting this. Remember where you saw it first? Yeah. So I'm putting it right now. Where's my bloody hashtag key? There you go. Oh yeah, there isn't a hashtag key on friggin' English keyboards. That's annoying. Damn it. Oh, I'm just gonna put Free Arday. I'm putting it in the chat. Free Arday. Someone put it with a hashtag, yeah? Free Arday. That's the new hashtag, guys. I want to see it all over social media, yeah?
It's awful. Like literally awful. So if you're gonna tell me that university, I think he had 2 investigations on this PhD thing, that the white establishment looked at this thing and said, nah, it's fine. The white establishment looked at his publications and went, nah, they're fine. They don't just do that because they do that. They don't do that because of DEI. They don't do that because they don't like black. It's the most. I was.
The thing is, and that's the thing. If a white establishment turns around and gives a black PhD the thumbs up, yeah, it's not because there's some black overlord running the DEI. Like, this is the thing about white conspiracy theorists, and that's what all these people are. So even if they're not racist, let's call them conspiracy theorists, yeah? In order think about what it takes for their conspiracy theory to be true, okay? What is this kind of like DEI push predicated on? Because the only way that you could say that this thing really existed is if there was a secret cabal, a hidden black family, yeah, sitting above the Bilderbergs, yeah, sitting above the Bilderbergs. You have the Olatunji family, yeah, who are running things, yeah, and they'll be like, yes, no, what you do is you are. And that's how I should give a Nigerian accent. What? Listen, I don't want to hear anything. We are going to establish ourselves. You are going to promote every black, whether you like it or not. You are going to promote every single black person. Yes, you will put them at the top. Yes, at the top. I don't want to hear anything. We are running things here. Yeah, so there's a powerful black cabal, yeah, sitting above the building. Come on, guys. This nation's run by white people, racist white people. Who is the one that is fronting this massive DEI campaign? Yeah, that all the powerful white people don't want. Who is it? Who is it? Who's the head of Cambridge? They just wanted to put the black in charge. Why? Why would they just want to put a black in charge? Why? You guys can't even give us a motive. You have to make up this kind of fictional enemy that doesn't exist. You guys just live in la la land. You're foolish. Yeah, there's no secret DEI enemy. Yeah, DEI is just a very failed attempt at carving a tiny space where people can't get away with bigotry and hiring. And even that, you attacked it and you destroyed it. You attacked it at the root until now you're using it as a stick to beat a black population that's never benefited from it in the first place. Like, are you that scared of competition? Don't answer that question. That's a rhetorical question. Of course you are.
I would say it's the most anti-black profession because you have the police and you have the NHS, and the NHS seems to be really bad given all everything people have ever told me. But it certainly is one of the most anti-black professions that exists. Like, it really, really is. And so there is no way that he's got beneficial treatment. That doesn't happen. So let's just kick all of that out right now. Just get rid of all of that. Made mistakes when he's younger. They got picked up. He's produced lots and lots of work. He's massively he's a really good speaker, does really good work. The man deserves a place. The man deserves a position. This is not a story. Then on top of this,
This is not a story. That's a mic drop moment. Yeah. He deserves his position. This is not a story. And you know what's funny? I looked through the comments, and obviously the white conspiracy theorists can't help. They kind of show up in all of it, just like they're in my comments probably right now. They all show up and they're like, oh, this aged like milk, didn't it? It's like, no, it didn't age like milk, because you guys haven't actually proven anything since then. The only thing that's happened is he stepped down from his position and he didn't admit any guilt, because you guys haven't proven anything. You're literally where you were 6 days ago. Nothing's been proven. The only thing that's been happening is you've been, reverberating your echo chamber, okay? And your echoes, and you're shouting and you're screaming and you're moaning and you're complaining and you're crying and you're whinging and you're coping has gotten louder and louder and louder and louder. That's the only thing that's happened. You haven't surfaced anything new, because you're a pathetic bunch of whingers. That's the reality of the situation.
you're now getting all these things where it does seem like maybe he's exaggerated certain things around running, around his experience. About how is this news? Like, just really tell me this is a professor at a university.
And you know what? I don't even think he's exaggerated that stuff around running. I said earlier, when I was on the podcast earlier, I said these are unexceptional people taking a dig at an exceptional human being. Because they are unexceptional in themselves, they cannot believe when they see something exceptional being exhibited in another person, and so therefore they will always default to the fact that that person has cheated to get there. It's that kind of like age-old thing when you got the kind of like the big bloke, yeah, and he looks at the guy who's got a six-pack and go, "Oh, you must be taking pets, isn't it?" Dude, just like, seriously, just get to a gym and give it a try, yeah, before you start making those accusations.
This is not your president, the prime minister. This is not your local elected official. This is not somebody who you've invested time and money. Like, this is professors don't really matter that much. This wouldn't, if he were a white professor, this wouldn't be in the news. Nobody would be saying anything about anything if he was a white professor. Like, this wouldn't even be a story.
Fact. If this was a white professor, you wouldn't even know his name. Wouldn't even know his name. In fact, if this is a white professor, nothing would have happened, because unlike white people, black people don't sit around looking for a white person who they're going to expose. Okay, we don't sit around looking for a hire that we oppose to. Oh, why have they hired a white person for that? Oh, let's let's activate the team. Let's activate team pushback, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we have to make sure that they don't get away with this. Oh, they've hired a white. Like, we don't do that. Yeah, we've got better things to do. Yeah, we've got better things to do. We don't sit around trying to make white people lose their jobs. That's why you would never have heard of it, because we don't have an axe to grind. We're not racist. Yeah, we're not racist. Like, the person who started this campaign is an open racist. That's all it is. Yeah. That's funny. Another troll in the chat is kind of like, you only need 2 brain cells in order to run a YouTube channel. 2 brain cells that you clearly don't have, because you don't have a channel. I bet you haven't got any subscribers, so you're an idiot then, isn't it? Like, what's your point here? You don't have any channel, you don't have any qualifications, and you don't have any intelligence. So your entire life has led you here onto my channel to make a comment. Are you going to stay here and continue to make an idiot of yourself? Yeah. Am I giving you clout? Am I giving you the attention that you need? Is this what you woke up needed? You needed the King Mono show to respond to your comments. Does that make you feel better? This is probably literally the most important thing that has happened in your life, is me responding to your comment. You've done really well. I'm glad I've brought you to the apex of your existence here by responding to your stupid comment. Well done. Well done. Well done. You've done very well. All right. Now I have to tell you, I'm going to ignore you from now on in, so you can carry on, making comments now. Now I'm going to ignore you, but I just wanted to make your day. I wanted to make you feel important for a little moment in time. Well done. Well done. Now it's sunny outside. I'm trapped in here doing the live stream. Go outside, get out of your mum's basement, go and get some sun, find a girlfriend. Okay. Don't traffic women like Andrew Tate, your hero. Thanks. Bye.
This is not because he's black, because the actual underlying thing here is that he's not supposed to be there. He can't have black people at Cambridge. That's the underlying thing. I couldn't care less if he exaggerates some stuff. I 100% promise you. And then if you go to pick a random Cambridge professor, look at their CV, you're gonna find some exaggerations. I can promise you that.
That's a fact. And I said that at the start. This is akin to someone, embellishing their CV. And even though we haven't proven that he's actually done that, but this is just something that happens all the time. This isn't news. Okay. This isn't news. We shouldn't even be talking about this.
So this is not a story. This shouldn't even be. I don't know why is this even in the news. Let alone why is New York picking it up? Why is it constant, every single claim, every single claim, every single claim, every single claim? It's because it's a racist smear campaign because they can't accept a young black man at Cambridge. That's the case. Even if some of these embellishments are generally true, like that's the case. All right. And nobody should that's why you got.
And that's very sad. That's what this boils down to. This is a young being operative there, black man who is a professor at Cambridge, and it breaks the white psyche. You have to understand something about the British population. When black people ascend to certain heights, it becomes their mission to bring them down. I gave the example yesterday of Kwasi Kwarteng, treated like no other chancellor in history, and they will convince themselves, hey, no, it's because he was incompetent. Okay, like there's never been a bad budget submitted before. They treated him like no other chancellor. He was out on his ass within weeks of taking that position. Okay, that's because he ascended to a height that black people are not supposed to be ascend to, and they brought him down. Look at their treatment of Diane Abbott, okay, who is now the longest and oldest standing MP. She's, what's it called? I think it's called the Lady of the House or something like that. She's supposed to be treated with respect and esteem, and they treat her like she's some dithering idiot, and the media shows her literally no respect because she's a black woman who's ascended to a position that they're not comfortable for her to be in. And so they have to justify their mistreatment of her by claiming it's her own incompetence as to why they're being so racist and so nasty. Oh, it's not us, it's her. She was just a bit smarter. This happens every time. I've already given the Meghan Markle example. Once again, a black woman, she's ascended to a height and a position that they don't believe black people are allowed to occupy. Thank you, mother of the house. Yeah. She's extended to Meghan Markle is extended to a height that they don't allow black people to ascend to. She's a princess. And they're like, nope, not in our country. You're not going to be no damn princess. We're going to make an enemy out of you. And it didn't matter what she did. She could just breathe, sneeze, yawn, and the media were on her ass. Why? And they did that until they actually gave their titles back. And that's when they haven't completely, but that's when they're like, oh, okay, cool. She's not a princess anymore, guys. We can relax. Don't worry. She's not a princess anymore. She's not important. That's because she ascended to a position that they were uncomfortable with. This nation does not have it when it comes to black people in certain positions. They will find a way of removing them, and they'll utilize their several arms and they'll converge in an attack against that black person. That is the reality of the situation.
I defend Jason on this one because it's just the level of it. It's the amped up of it. It's beyond, right? And again, based on this idea that it shouldn't be there. That's why it's a story. That's why they reviewed it. That's why, was it Nathan Koffness, I think is the person at Cambridge who was the one who first drew attention to it. Someone who was, when I went down to Cambridge the other day, they were telling me about all the complaints black students had. This is somebody who actually genuinely believes that black people are not capable of being in places like Cambridge. There's actually written about it. They said without affirmative action, there will be no black people in these places. They were more suited for sport, etc. That's the racist people that are doing this.
And the thing about it is, yeah, just to be clear, I don't want to say too much, but God willing, I don't have to ever meet that Nathan Koffness fella. Yeah, God willing, I don't ever have to meet him because I won't be reserved in the way that I deal with people like that. Like, who do you think you are? Like, who do these people genuinely think they are? To be so, and this thing, that kind of brazen stupidity. Actually, I was going to say that it can only come from the States, but actually, then there's, Richard Lynn, who did that whole IQ paper, and he's a dysgenesis as well as a eugenicist. So maybe I'm being far-fetched and just blaming America. But it's like, who do these people think they are? Like, who do they genuinely think they are? I will show them a polymath whooping, yeah, That's what I'll show these people. Like, who do they think they are? Like, it's like, what's wrong with them? They're so friggin' loose with, like, who do you think you are? Listen, if you feel brave about it, that's cool, but keep it where you are, because I might walk up on the stage and do something ungodly to you if I hear you make a statement like that. Respectfully, that's well disrespectful. I'm not gonna stand for it.
Going through the combing through, da, 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 da. You know what I'm saying? It's the level it's got to is outrageous. For the story is. It's not a story. Who cares? The professor lied about a few things, exaggerated a few things. Like, why is this news? Even if it was true, even if every single claim was true, even if it's all lies, even if it's all plagiarized, how is this such news? It's only news because he's black. It's only news because he's black, because they don't think we should be there, right? They don't.
Exactly what I just said there. He's black and he shouldn't be in a certain position.
Think we should be there. And the other thing I'll state about this is Cambridge, like, being a Cambridge professor doesn't mean you're some wonderful thing, right? I mean, the standard of Cambridge professor is ridiculous. Being applied, the racism here is so deep and subtle at the same time, right? So, actually, when I spoke to Jason, he was saying this level of scrutiny only happened at Cambridge. So before he was, I want to say Sheffield, but I could be wrong. I think Glasgow. I could be wrong. But he was somewhere else before, and then it was only when he got to Cambridge that it became a big, like, he just all this scrutiny, American right-wing scrutiny everywhere, all this scrutiny everywhere. And again, that's a deeply racist idea that Cambridge is somehow special. Cambridge is somehow distinctive. Cambridge is where the best people go. And, to make it to Cambridge, you have to be in this top. Get out of it. Cut the crap. That is not true. Oh my God, there are so many frauds. When I say frauds, I don't mean frauds like you made up your work. I mean, like, your work is so bad, it's fraudulently to pass it off as academic work.
You hear that? So this is exactly what I was talking about. The fact that people are scoffing and they're kind of like being like, oh, well, he doesn't deserve to be. It's like he's saying, hey, people, Cambridge is made up of those kinds of people who don't deserve to be in their position. Remember, Nathan Koffness is one of these people. Okay, this is someone who's literally operating and practicing pseudoscience. Yeah, he was at the University of Cambridge. Yeah, someone who's literally practicing racial pseudoscience in 2026 and in 2025, 2024, and obviously years before, because he's been chasing Jason Arday since his appointment in 2023. But this is the reality of the situation, and they're focusing on Jason Arday. When you've got these wicked demons, yeah, who are clearly incompetent, occupying some of these very senior positions. This is the reality. And this is just the nature.
I've worked at Cambridge and do work at Cambridge today. If you really think the top minds in the world work at Cambridge, then you're the one who's deluded, my friend. That is some absolute nonsense. That is such an incestuous cesspool of ideas and thoughts. I'm not saying there's no good people about Cambridge. Not saying that at all. Colleagues down there, Monica, Guerra down there, people do. There's some good people at Cambridge. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that you think everybody who works there is the elite, top. Come on, get out of here. Cut the crap. There are far more dangerous people in places like Cambridge than Jason Arday, who actually does good work. His work is actually positive. I mean, David Starkey. Remember David Starkey? He wasn't a professor in that sense. He was an honorary title at Cambridge. Was attached to a Cambridge college. David Starkey attached to a Cambridge college after 2011. This is up to 2020. He lost it in 2020 when he said that slavery wasn't a genocide, because if it was a genocide, there wouldn't be so many damn blacks. That David Starkey, they got rid of him then. Yeah.
We're talking about that yesterday. So the fact that it took 10 years for David Starkey, in fact, he didn't even lose his job. He made an egregiously racist comment, was allowed to sit in his position, and only lost it when he made another egregiously racist comment afterwards. That's the reality of it,
He had an honorary position at Cambridge College. This was after, in 2011, when he said the reason for the riots, the 2011 riots, and I say rebellions, not riots, because the whites had become black, and said that David Lammy sounded like a white man, and basically, why couldn't all the darkies be more like David Lammy? Just after that, like, this man, he was actually attached to Cambridge. That's far more problematic, in my view. I mean, I actually thought this guy worked at Cambridge, but
so notice how when white people they're making a big deal out of someone's CV. Oh, he lied. It's like, well, you don't know that. That's conjecture. Okay. And then in order for that to be an issue, someone has to kind of make that into a crime. There has to be a crime that's being committed here. Some kind of, people call him a fraud. Okay, so are you able to bring a fraud case against him? Likely no. It's very unlikely you're able to bring a case of fraud against him. And I think they're very aware of the fact that most of the things he hasn't said, or most of the things he said, does not constitute to fraud. Okay, even if you prove that he's embellished slightly, it wouldn't constitute to fraud. And this is why they resorted to this court of public opinion in order to oust him from his position. That's why they've resorted to it. It's like, well, we have to get him out somehow. He hasn't committed any crime. Let's say, let's just let's just put it on repeat that everything he's saying in the CV is a lie. We don't care what he says in his own defense. We don't care what other people say, but we're just going to say that it's a lie. And if we repeat it long enough and loud enough, that's what's going to be proliferated to the general public. And that's exactly what did happen, in fairness.
I had a fellowship at Oxford, but one of the British historical, what do you want to say, stars, Niall Ferguson, I think it's Niall Ferguson, wrote the book Empire, was attached to Oxford. And Oxford.
Let me just give a shout out to Fabrice. You're doing a fine job with the troll deletions, sir. I see your promotion was very, very well, was very, very well placed. We have no time for the riffraff. Yeah, do as you will with them, the morons and the idiots. I find it hard to not respond when I see really stupid comments, because I feel like a part of comic relief should be laughing at these pathetic little copers. Oh, King Monologue, you're so racist. I think, what's the one in the comments he said? I think, oh, what country are you the king of to call yourself a king? Where is your kingdom? Touche. Oh my God. Oh my God. You've just taken me out there, man. Whoa. Guys, I retire. Seriously, like literally, I do retire, because he literally just said to me that I don't have a kingdom. Whoa.
Oxford, Cambridge, Oxbridge will just tie them together for this supposedly an academic star. Just writes racist books. Like, yeah, I'll say it's racist. You're going to say it's not racist. Anything that says the British Empire was a force for good is racist. Let's just be very, very clear. The British Empire was not a force for good. If you think it was, it's a racist idea. But anyway, I'm reading his book and about listening to his book, because one of the things I tend to listen to books now, not read them, because I'm busy doing lots of things. So I'm driving down the road thinking, I've got to read this book, because I'm writing The New Age of Empire, and obviously there's going to be some good arguments against my argument that empire is bad, etc., etc. The British Empire is terrible. So I'm, reading Niall Ferguson. Oh my God, it was so stupid. I was laughing so hard at one point. I actually almost drove off the road. That's not a joke. That is not an exaggeration. I can't remember what it was now, but I burst out in so much laughter that my hands actually shook. And I was like, oh, that's dangerous. That's literally dangerous. Could have killed me and somebody else with the nonsense. And that passes for Oxford to work. And you were supposed, that's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like the idea that there is this pinnacle over there. Forget that bond. That's a.
And this is the thing. One of the things I've noticed from doing what I do is these guys are so terrified. Literally, they're so terrified. And that's what I like. They're so like filled with fear. It's like, hey guys, I'm a YouTuber, man. That's it. I'm a YouTuber. They're so petrified of me. Like they're so terrified. It's unbelievable how terrified they are. Let him stand. Don't listen. Don't delete him, Wildflower and Fabrice. I know you guys have got itchy fingers right now. Leave this moron in the chat, because they really think they are terrified. Literally terrified of me. It's kind of like, stop talking, King Mono. Oh, you're losing, King Mono. We're winning. Oh, the blacks are going down. You know how stupid you sound sitting in there. Like, how stupid. I don't know if Fabrice got him. Fabrice is like, you're God. I've had enough of you, moron. He was a moron. Something like, you got, guys. I think after this call chat, we'll have like a little moderators chat. We'll get together and we'll talk to you about maybe just like allowing some of the comic relief to stay. We have to let these idiots just kind of like linger sometimes, because sometimes they're very entertaining. They say they say things like, oh, non-King Mono. Got you there, didn't I? You thought you were a king? Well, how about that? Squire Mono. They're so dumb. They're so literally slow and dim-witted. They don't realize they are literally the comic relief. That's why I have to let them stay, because we need comic relief. They need to be laughed at, because these are people who are used to be, actually, no, I was going to say used to be taken seriously, but I don't imagine they're even taken seriously in real life. They're kind of like, they hope their whiteness will give them credibility on my channel. They're never going to get that. Okay, they're going to get the exact opposite. But anyway, guys, it's now an hour 40 minutes in, and I'll tell you what, man, I am enjoying this video, but I think I've kind of like, we've exhausted the topic here. But I hope I've done what I wanted to do. What I wanted to basically share is that, yes, yesterday I started going into this topic. I wasn't sure if I was going to do another video, but I felt vindicated by a podcast I did this morning. And the more and more I look into this topic, the more I'm like, guys, we have to become more resilient when it comes to the media executing smear campaigns against against our people, particularly those who have ascended into high positions. Okay, we have to become more, in tune to the fact of what's taking place and not be trusting. Volume does not equal truth. And that's the reason many people are just accepting this story to be true right now, is because of the volume of media outlets that are perpetuating, that are parroting this story. And each one is just parroting the story that they've just consumed. None of them are bringing any actual evidence of this man's wrongdoing. When I first looked into this, I was almost scared to look into it, because I was like, oh my God, what has this guy done? Literally, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh my God, this Dr. Arday, wow, another black guy who just kind of like, made life hard for us. And then I looked into it and I was like, the dude hasn't done anything. Why is no one standing up for him? Where are all the black media? Where are the black creators standing up for Dr. Arday? That's been a little bit disappointing for me, because to me personally, having looked at the data, there might not be enough to say that he's entirely innocent, but there's certainly enough for us to form a brigade of solidarity and protection. We've got people like this good doctor putting his own livelihood on the line to stand up and say the right thing and give us the data that we need to mount a successful argument and to say, no, that's enough. He hasn't done anything wrong, and you're not going to completely destroy his life. I don't know if I have the power to do that. I probably don't, but at least I've shared that with you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your very kind comments that I'm reading right now. Appreciate you, Tim. Appreciate you, Wildflower, Tuco, IT Girl, Fabrice, Dotarai. Too many in the comments. I'm not going to scroll up. So if I've missed you, you have to kindly accept my apologies. But I think on that note, we'll wrap this one up. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. Shout out to you, Deborah. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Until then, guys, let's hold the fort. Let's not fall for the okie doke. Let's continue to stand on business as a community. Peace.